Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we are going to be taking a look at the Warrior Priest. This is a Templar build, and yes, it is also one that is based on the Warhammer game series. Or Warhammer Return of Reckoning, whatever. It's actually in a lot of their games, including the tabletop miniatures version. It is a really cool healer group support kind of thing, and how it works compared to other things. It's great for, this build is really good for dungeon play. This build is really good for arena play, for arenas like Maelstrom, or not Maelstrom, Dragonstar and the Black Rose Prison. It's also really good for some trials, in the sense of its workings and everything, but it's actually a really interesting build. So let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at the build itself. And as you can see, we are a Breton Templar. We do have 14 points in the Magicka, 50 points in the Stamina. This is because this is more of a hybrid type healer. As you can see, we have 24k Magicka, 21k health, 27k Stamina. We do have a 1282 mag recovery, 820 gosh, excuse me, stamina recovery. We have a 2813 weapon damage with a 52% weapon critical. We have a 2106 spell damage with a 40% spell critical. We have a 17k physical or spell resist because we are a Breton, with a 15k physical resist. We have 1320 of course crit resist for the base. Moving on down here, we do have the Thief Mundus Stone at all times. We have Major Savagery, increasing our weapon critical at all times, and Major Prophecy, increasing our spell crit at all times. So as you can see, these two increase your crit chance by 12%. This is really good. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip these, but we do have Minor Heroism also whenever we're in combat at all times. And we are using Tri-Stat Food. Alright, moving on to our equipment. So, somebody asked me to go over the potions and food. So, Tri-Stat Food gives you 4k max health, 4k max Magicka, and 4k max Stamina. So, it gives you all three attributes. The potions that I would suggest using are the Tripods. These are the ones that give you health, Magicka, and Stamina return. They also give you the Major Fortitude, Major Intellect, and Major Endurance, increasing health, magic, and stamina recovery by it says 40% here. It's, I believe, 20%. I don't think it's 40%. That's a lot. But yeah, really good on that higher return of resources. Alright, now we're going to go over sets. Now this build uses some unusual setups because of the way it's meant to work. So our first thing that we're using is Grundwulf's. This is a newer set, kind of. So the one piece, it has two bonuses. It adds weapon and spell crit. The two piece, whenever you deal critical damage, you restore 700 Magicka or Stamina, whichever maximum is higher, and you also gain 350 of the other resource. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. So it's a really nice, you know, like crit boost, but also resource management. And since this build is an up-front healer, it's not one that stands in the back and plays patty cake, you know, from a distance. No offense to those healers that play that way. It doesn't do that. It actually stands in the fight with the tank, with the DPS and everything. And that's why it works so good for these arenas and stuff. Next up, our next set is Tooth Throw. Now this is a really good set, but it's a really interesting set in how it works. So the 2-piece max Stamina, 3-piece and 4-piece weapon crit, 5-piece weapon damage, and then the bonus 5-piece gain Major Savagery at all time, increasing your weapon critical rating. The next set we're running is Shulks. Now Shulks wouldn't be considered a healer set. None of these would, but The reason why I chose Shulks is because of the benefit of the minor heroism. Minor heroism works really good with certain ultimate abilities on helping you get those ultimates out fast. So really nice on that end. On the traits, again, we're using my standard, which is the reinforced helm, because it is a heavy helm. We are using a light shoulder, and then we're using 5 medium on the body. But the chest and legs are both invigorating, and as you can see, we do have the tri-stats on all 3 of the bigger pieces. The smaller pieces, we are running Divines, 2 max Magicka, 2 max Stamina. It doesn't matter how you have these set up, just as long as you have 2 mag and 2 stam. It kind of just gives you those better pools for the way this build plays. Moving on to the jewelry, 2 Tri-Rune rings, again, weapon damage on both here, and then the infused Magicka necklace or infused magic recovery necklace. This is going to give you that high mag return. Moving on to the weapons, this build does use 2 hammers. So on the front hammer, we are using a two-handed mace. We are using an Nerdhone Absorb Magicka. This is going to do magic damage and give you Magicka back. And then on the back bar, we are using a infused weapon spell damage enchant. This increases both weapon and spell damage. You end up with about 3k spell damage and roughly almost 4k weapon damage with this. It's really nice for what the build's meant to do. Right, now that I've shown you that, we're going to go ahead and move on to skills. And as always, make sure when you unlock any class skills, you unlock the skills themselves and the passives. This gives you a wider range of tools to use along with your weapon skills. And since this build only uses two-handed, just unlock those and those passives. When it comes to armor, light, medium, and heavy, this is a medium armor build. So you're going to want to fill in all the medium armor. Light armor, the top 3. Heavy armor, the top 3 as well. World skills, soul magic. Consuming traps, really good for this build in solo play because it gives you an extra dot to use. We also have shatter soul, really good ranged kind of damage ability, and it explodes and does damage to other enemies. We have the Fighter's Guild ultimate passives or active abilities and passives completely unlocked. Same thing with the Mage's Guild. Surgic Order skills and passives, and then Undaunted as well. And then of course on the Assault or Alliance War skills, Assault, we only have Warhorn, Echoing Vigor, and Caltrops. Now if you do plan on playing PvP a lot, I would suggest unlocking all the passives and all the active abilities, because you never know when you're going to want to use them or not. And the same thing goes for support. So we have Reviving Barrier, Efficient Purge, Stalwart Guard, and also for PvE you can use the Magic Aid if you use any of these abilities. Racial, we are at Breton, so that's really good. Gift of Magicka, extra 2k Magicka. Spell Attunement, increased spell resistance, and also gives you an extra 100 recovery. And when you are afflicted, the effect doubles when you're afflicted with Burning, Chilled, or Concuss. So anything that comes from the Magicka damage staff effects, or any kind of like flame damage, ice damage, or shock damage effects, you actually get that double resistance. Magic recovery, really good. It reduces the magic cost of your abilities by 7%. This makes them really good for healing, but also really good for sustaining in Magicka. Alchemy, medicinal use, and provisioning, gourmet, and connoisseur. Now, I'm going to go over the skills on the bar, and these will vary, again, based on the different situations, but these are what I would run normally if I was running arenas or I was running dungeons. Even playing PvP, because of the fact of how this build works, its primary thing is to support and heal your group. So, starting with the first ability we have Brawler. Now, Brawler's a great ability. It's an AoE damage ability. It hits multiple targets, but it gives you a damage shield, and that damage shield grows in strength based on 50. It grows in strength by 50% up to a total of 300% based on the amount of enemies you hit. So it starts out at 4,759, but it can go as high as 20k. Depending on the number of enemies you can hit. Moving on to the next ability, and this is kind of a toss-up. Most people say Breath of Life would be better, but I actually like the Ritual of Rebirth. Now this one is a focus heal, so you focus your spiritual devotion healing you and your allies within 10 meters for 5,970 health. And then anyone outside of that gets a heal for 6,000 out of that 10-meter radius. So, and it only a single target. So it's a really nice AoE heal and burst heal. Next up, we have Radiant Aura. Now, this one, when you cast it, it applies Magic of Steel to all enemies around you in a 28-meter radius, and it has a 20-second duration. So you apply that Magic of Steel for 20 seconds. While slotted, you get minor fortitude, minor endurance, and minor intellect, increasing your health, stamina, and magic recovery by 20%. So you get a massive amount of resource return with this, which is really nice as well. Moving on to the next ability, we have Echoing Vigor. This is our primary hot. This is our AoE heal over time that we're going to be using a lot of, because it costs stamina. So this one, you let loose a battle cry, and instilling you and your allies with resolve and healing for 11,598 health over 10 seconds. It is based off of your max stam and your max weapon damage. So next, we do have Inner Light. This is going to give you an increase of max magicka by 5%. It's also going to grant you Major Prophecy for having it slotted. And in PvP, it will allow you to see invisible enemies. Now, the nice thing is there is a passive in the Mage Guild line that actually increases it to a total of 7% max magicka that you get. Really good. Next ability we have, this is going to be your primary defensive buff for your group, and that is Solar Disturbance. Now, this does deal magic damage every second for 10 seconds to enemies in the area. It also applies Major Maim to them, reducing their damage done by 10%. And Maim will persist even if they leave the Nova area, which is an 8-meter radius. The duration is 10 seconds, and it does cost 250 ultimate, but because we're a Templar, it's actually 237. And it's also a synergy. An ally near the fragment can activate the Supernova Synergy, dealing 8,285 magic damage to all enemies in the area and stunning them for 2.5 seconds. So it does not only work in PvE, it works really good in PvP as well. Moving on to the back bar, first ability we have is Stampede. Now, a lot of people are going to ask me, why are you using Stampede? This is to activate and keep up the activation of our weapon spell damage. The nice thing is that it does deal damage to all enemies, and it deals damage to all enemies in an area of effect of 5 meters where you impact, and it deals damage over time. And this attack is always critical when you use it. So, but after you reach the destination, it does do an AoE, dealing X amount of stamina damage. So that stamina damage is what's going to keep the application of your weapon spell damage in check. Next ability we have is Blazing Spear. This does magic damage in an AoE. So you throw the spear out, deals damage over time, and then it has a synergy on it that allows somebody to grab it, and it will return magicka or stamina, whichever is higher. This is a great synergy to go along with the Undaunted passive Undaunted command, because whenever you activate a synergy, you get 4% of the resources back of health, stamina, or magicka, and it's based on the max value of that stat. So like mine, I get 946 health, 1,088 stamina, and 948 magicka. But if I activate like Spear Shards, I'm going to get a ton of stamina back. Next ability we have is Extended Ritual. Now this is another AoE heal. Now it will cleanse you of 5 harmful effects from you and your nearby allies. So it's really good for that. It also, again, heals you, or sorry, Exalt Assault, whatever, cleansing up to 5 harmful effects from yourself immediately and healing you and your allies. So you and your allies get healed every 2 seconds for 24 seconds. And then it's also a synergy that somebody can use to purify themselves and cleanse themselves of harmful effects. It's just really good overall. And this ability scales off your highest offensive stats. So it scales off our max stamina and max weapon damage. Next, we have Restoring Focus. This is a really good one for the way it works. It gives you Major Resolve, increasing both spell and physical resist. It does cost stamina, but it gives you stamina back. And it increases your physical resistance. And then if you stand in it, your physical and spell resistance is actually increased by 50%. So if you look here, we actually go to 26k spell and 24k physical resist. This is almost tank level resistance. So this is really good for when you're in a fight in a dungeon or in an arena. Like I said, you can stay with the tank or the DPS, you know, you can stand right with him and take a little bit of a beating. And it's one of the reasons why we have Brawler on the bar, is so you can also mitigate some damage as well, so you're not taking as much. And then last but not least, we do have Inner Light, again, to give us that max Magicka and Major Prophecy, and then our final ultimate. And this is a one that I like to swap out with one of the support abilities, the Reviving Barrier, and that is Remembrance. Now this is a cheaper ultimate than Reviving Barrier. This is a 150 ultimate normally, but because we're a Templar, we get 14% reduced cost. This one, you channel the grace of the gods, healing you and your allies for 7,000 health every second for 4 seconds. You gain major protection, reducing your damage taken by 10% for 10 seconds. You cannot move while channeling, but you gain immunity to all disabling effects. So it's a really nice group heal for those really bad moments. Reviving Barrier is another really good heal kind of thing, but it does give a 32k damage shield over 30 seconds, and then it heals for 15 seconds, 14,000 health. So again, really good kind of survivability type thing. Now, just like with all my builds, I'm going to go ahead and show you the CP. Where I have a standardized kind of setup, I'm using the hybrid setup here. So starting with the red tree, we have 56 in the Ironclad. This reduces direct damage taken by 20%. We do have 38 in the medium armor focus. This gives you 3,250 physical resist for wearing 5 pieces of medium armor. And the reason for the 38 is we are a Breton, so we get increased magic resistance as one of our passives. We are in medium armor, so we don't get extra resistance, but we are also a Templar who gets extra spell resist. So you get double spell resist pretty much, and then this just kind of fills in that little bit of a gap. Moving on, we have 31 into Thick Skin. This reduces damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 43 into Hardy, reducing physical, poison, disease damage by 10%. And 43 into Elemental Defender, reducing Flame Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 10%. Moving on to the final red tree, we have 40 into Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 16%. 19 into Quick Recovery. This increases your own healing received by 5%. So really good for those PvP moments and even those PvE moments where you might need that little bit of extra. Moving on to the green tree, 40 into Warlord. This reduces your break free cost by 16%. 5 into Sprinter. This reduces sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Sprinter. 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing your bash cost by 10%. And then moving on to the middle green tree, 43 in the Mooncalf. This increases stam recovery by 10%, and then 75 in the Arcanus, increasing your mag recovery by 14%. Moving on over here to the final green tree, we have 40 in the Tumbling. This reduces dodge roll cost by 16%, and 40 in the Shadow Word, reducing your block cost by 16%. Moving on to the blue tree, we have 43 in the Bless. This increases healing done by 10%. 23 in the Elfborn, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with magic abilities by 10%. 43 in the Elemental Expert, increasing Flame Frost Shock and magic damage by 10%. In the middle tree here, we have 35 in the Physical Weapon Expert. This increases the damage of your two-handed weapon, dual wield, one-handed sword and shield, bow, and werewolf form, light and heavy attacks by 20%. 40 in the Master at Arms, increasing your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. And then into the final blue tree, we have 43 in the Mighty, increasing physical, poison, disease damage by 10%. 23 in the Precise Strikes, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with stamina abilities by 10%, and then 20 in the Thaumaturge. This increases your damage done with damage over time effects by 9%. Alright, now that I've shown you guys that stuff, I'm going to go ahead and take this build over to a dungeon where I can show you how it works in that environment. Now, this isn't going to do high damage. Again, it's not meant to be DPS. It's meant to be a group support healer or a battle priest, like it says. Now, you can set it up, because we have so many skills unlocked, you could set it up to have more DPS if you want to run it a little bit more solo. You could take Biting Jabs. You could even use Vampiric Bane, Solar Barrage as kind of like DPS, AoE things. You could even take Purifying Light as a way to stack some damage and also give you an extra heal for when you're doing that. There's a lot of different abilities. You know, you've got all the two-handed weapon skill lines that you can use. You've got all the fighter skill. You've got all the mage's skill. But I just want to kind of show you its effectiveness. So we're going to go ahead and head over to Depths of Malatar, which, yeah, it is a really fun dungeon, but I use it primarily for the purpose of just showing off how the build works. In a group setting, but also in a solo setting, because now you got to remember, enemies in a dungeon are a lot harder than they are going to be in Overland. World bosses, delves, public dungeons, that kind of thing. This just kind of shows like your effectiveness in there solo, but it also shows your effectiveness in a group setting. So like this is just that. So alright, we're going to go ahead and get in here. And the one thing I really like about the Warrior Priest in Warhammer, I do play one, I play a two-handed Warrior Priest, is this idea that you get lots of just group kind of, you know, support, and then you have all these tools that just make everything so much easier to do. And as I said, like, you gain ultimate really fast, so and there we go. Now, the reason, again, for the medium armor build is primarily because of the fact that you get all the spell or stamina based stuff. So you get all this like stuff that increases your weapon damage and your weapon crit. So it makes things like Vigor work so much better. And now I'm going to use a potion. I want you to see what the potion recovery is like. 1649, 1202. And that's with the thing that gives the Magic Steel. That also gives you the Tri recovery. So it's like, even with that, you get a really good amount of... and there we go. There's the damage. Not a lot of damage, like I said. It's not meant to have a lot of damage. It's meant to be more of like this AoE super healer kind of thing. So, alright, moving in. Go ahead and get started here, and you can see like the healing from it isn't bad. Like I can stand here and just use vigor to keep myself in normal settings alive. Like, it's not a problem. And that's what, again, what makes it so good is you've got these two hots. You've got this AoE magic of steel, you know, that you can put on there for your allies. You've got this, you've got a lot of like AoE, and then this one AoE burst heal that makes it really good for you to be able to be right there in the fight again with your group. And then you've got Brawler for yourself that just gives you enough of a shield to kind of keep you going. So we're going to go ahead and drop some Solar Disturbance here. And this is the other thing that I love about it. You got so much stamina recovery that you can literally like stand there and hold block. Even with the minor, just a minor 16% recovery. So, alright, let me go ahead and get over here. I'm going to have him puke on me. I'm going to have him knock me out. Do all that stuff to kind of take away my healing capabilities and let him kill me. Because otherwise I will be here through the whole thing. So, alright, we're going to go ahead and Waste Train out. But that's pretty much it for the build, guys. I mean, as I said, it's a really good build for what it does. It's really powerful in the sense that it's got good survivability, it's got good healing, it's got good group play in both PvE and in PvP. And so you get this kind of mixed playstyle, which allows for some really unique stuff. But because it has so much recovery coming in from sources like, again, Radiant Aura, the Restoring Focus, your potions, and then on top of that you have this monster set that whenever you deal critical damage, whether Magicka or Stamina, you're getting 700 Magicka or Stamina, whichever is higher, and then you're getting 350 of the other. So remember, we're getting 700 Stamina and 350 Magicka every 5 seconds. On top of the potion, on top of our high recovery rates of the 1099 and 711 here, but it's actually 1282 and 820 unless we have our potions going. And then we get that even higher recovery rate of 1649 and 1038, which can actually go even higher because we've got, like I said, we've got that resource return from this, we've got, you know, all that other stuff, and we're doing a lot of heavy attacks and then, you know, things like that. So it's a really good, just overall support character for group play. And like I said, works great for Maelstrom Arena, or not Maelstrom Arena, Dragonstar Arena, and Black Rose Prison as well, both in normal and in veteran modes. So you've got a good group healer, a good group character that can play with you in there, and he can stay with you no matter where you go in that area, and you're not you're not limited to like having to stay back some. You can actually stay in the fight and really help your group out. So yeah. But that's pretty much it for the build, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can subscribe. And also remember, when you do subscribe, to click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. It also helps my channel grow by allowing more people to see my videos and things like that. So, yeah, it's really cool. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.